Welcome to N5D Radio's Cosmic Awakening Show, where we are serving this galaxy and beyond. My name is Michelle Walling, I'm with N5D.com, and our goal is to reach as many people as possible with a database of articles, videos, and radio shows that will help aid you in your spiritual awakening. At the Cosmic Awakening Show, we encourage you to question everything. I also have a website called CosmicStarseeds.com where you can find all of the articles I have written and all of my radio shows and the radio shows that I've been a guest on as well. It's a database that you may want to check out. Also, if you'd like to book a holistic life coach session with me, you can find out more information about that at michellewalling.com. And finally, I have a website called howtoexitthematrix.com that may interest you with a plethora of information on esoteric studies of the paranormal and quantum aspects of our reality. And I want to give a special thanks to Greg Prescott of N5D.com, which is the world's hottest esoteric, metaphysical, and spiritual database on the internet. And Greg is also the webmaster for our sister site, BodyMindSoulSpirit.com. A few more announcements before we get started with our show. Don't forget that May 10th I'll be in London, and we are selling our tickets out pretty quick by donation actually for the ticket to come to our meetup, and that's on May 10th in London where I'll be speaking. And then I also am attending the Dreamers Conference. That's dreamers.fi for Finland. And I'll be in Helsinki for that conference coming up. You can find out everything about that particular conference and the fact that the public lectures are on Saturday and Sunday, and I'm speaking on Sunday. I'm the second to last speaker, and you can check out the dates and everything for that at dreamers.fi. You can find out about all of our meetups and conferences on n5devents.com. The next conference we have coming up is October 15th here in Sarasota, Florida, and that is a psychic conference. We have several wonderful high vibrational psychics that are going to be speaking. We will also have a few vendors doing readings. We have Akashic readings, tarot readings, psychic readings, and I believe our speakers as well will be taking a few appointments. Welcome to the new format for the Cosmic Awakening Show. This allows me to basically do a video show anytime I want rather than having to just do audio on Blog Talk Radio on Thursday nights. So I promise to get something to you as much as I can every week, whether it be an N5D network video, which you can find many of those on N5D's YouTube channel and on my own personal YouTube channel, Michelle Walling. I usually upload them on my YouTube channel first, and then whenever Greg can get a moment to upload my videos, he will do that. So I just want to remind everybody that I do have a new office here in Sarasota, Florida, where I can do in-person life coaching sessions. I also do them by Skype and phone. And again, I just wanted to throw that out. I am more than willing and happy to help. At michellewalling.com, you can find out all that information. Let's get right into the introduction for our guest tonight. So my guest is Erin Waage, and she is a 38-year-old Pisces born and raised in the Santa Cruz Mountains in California. She has an honors degree in criminal justice law enforcement, which opened her eyes to how corrupt the system really is. Thus, Erin steered clear from a career in that field. And Erin is a self-employed creator and a teacher of many things. And as an empowered empath, she has a passion for healing humanity. And Erin is here tonight to talk to us about how she feels Western medicine and pharmaceuticals have completely failed us as a recourse for health. She's an advocate for healing one's body, mind, and spirit with healthy food, water, herbs, meditation, and proper detoxification. See, Erin was literally faced with a death due to severe candida overgrowth, systematic candidiasis. I think I got that right. The doctors she had seen for her condition were only adding to the problem, and it wasn't until she took full responsibility for her own health in a holistic manner that she began to heal. And so, with that, Erin Waage, welcome to the Cosmic Awakening Show.
Thank you.
Well, what I want to start off with today, Erin, is let's talk about this miraculous thing that has happened with you. You had this horrible candida. Was it just localized on your face? I do have pictures here to show before and after. Was it anywhere else on your body? Because obviously your face is what most people see, and I can imagine what that did to your self-confidence.
That my face is where it surfaced, but I felt it in every organ of my body, absolutely, and especially once I recognized what it was. I felt every time that a piece of it would die. It's all throughout my entire body, but as far as it surfacing and showing up on my skin, yes, it just blew up on my face.
Now, this started in 2015, March, somewhere right there?
Well, that's when it got to the point where I had to do something about it. But I had always had what looked like pimples, but they weren't pimples on my face from the time I was 13 or 14 years old.
Interesting.
I remember, just thinking, well, that's weird. It looks more like a rash than a pimple. But I knew I was going through puberty and I should be getting, some kind of pimples, but I knew it was not pimples. By the time I was 22, I went to a doctor and they told me I had rosacea, and they prescribed me antibiotics for that. And they also gave me steroidal cream, which, unbeknownst to me, were making everything that much worse. And, of course, when I would take the antibiotics, everything would settle down on my face. But then I would get off of them. It would blow back up. But, yeah, and I think around late 2014, early 2015 is when it blew up out of control. And I went to a doctor. And also my kidneys were I felt like I couldn't even walk. And I went to the doctor and I said, there's got to be a correlation here between my kidneys hurting and my face blowing up, because it happens at the same time. And she said, no, there's no correlation between the two, and she had me take a urine test. She said that there was protein in my urine, which she did not know what the protein was. I had to go figure out that it was the protein cell wall that I was urinating out, the protein cell wall of the Candida. So, yeah, that was pretty much when I started really doing my own investigating and really just starting to realize I need to fix this myself. There's not any regular doctor who's going to be able to help me with it.
Now, can't antibiotics cause Candida?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and there are several different theories out there. There's a lot of different theories out there. And if you take the word antibiotic, it means anti-life, okay? And so one theory is that when you're taking the antibiotics, you're actually killing your own cells. And Candida is a yeast that eats dead cells. It loves dead food. It eats us when we die. So if we're actually killing our own cells, it's going and eating those dead cells. And then the other theory is that it's just killing the antibiotics are killing all of our gut flora, all of our, the good biotics, the good stuff, and it's killing all of it. And so the yeast will go in and eat that as well. But
what did you grow up eating? I mean, were you eating fast foods, or were you a home? Did your parents cook?
My diet changed all the time growing up. Once I became an adult, I started eating ice cream, and I always was able to maintain what looked like physically good shape, and so I wasn't worried about my diet. I wasn't worried about the sugar intake and that kind of thing. And I definitely noticed that when I would eat more sugar, my face would blow up. but that wasn't until about 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also when the internet started really blowing up with people talking about Candida more and more often on the internet, and I was able to find answers. And I started with just Googling rash on my face, and it took some investigation from that point. But
Well, there's a lot of hidden sugar in a lot of things that we do eat.
absolutely,
I mean,
absolutely,
McDonald's fries and a
yeah,
lot of the fast food to make it taste better
yeah,
and make it addictive as well. Yeah.
yeah,
And even
yeah,
potatoes turn into sugar
right,
and so there are I guess there's certain body types that can basically OD on starchy foods and sugars and stuff. But I think from listening to what you've had to say about this experience, I think it was probably more of a huge wake-up call for you. Would you say spiritually to, as to what food is just basically literally killing us?
yeah, yeah.
And unfortunately, you had to go through it. So why don't you tell our listeners, how did you fight this candida naturally?
um, it's a very, you've got to approach it holistically. You've got to take every everything into consideration. Yes, food is absolutely important. You've got to eat organic food, and you've got to make your own food, and you've got to read the labels. And it's not just about what's not in that food. It's also about what is in that food, because you need the nutrients. I mean, once I started learning that you can't eat sugar and you can't have wheat and gluten and all this stuff, I was scared to eat anything. And so I was like 100 pounds, and I'm almost 5'9". Um, and that's when I realized I've got to get this nutrients. And you know what? I brought some things out. This is moringa leaf.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the most nutritional food that you can have. And I just put it in my smoothies. You can put it with your food, anything. And I just think that's so important. But other than food, meditation. Meditation helped me tremendously as far as keeping myself centered and grounded. And if you've never meditated before, go take a meditation class with a group of people, because that will skyrocket your meditation skills. There's so many helpful herbs out there. And I would highly recommend to anybody, Google it. Just Google herbs that can help candida or any sort of health problems. There's an herb out there for it. I guarantee it. Let's see, I could go on and on. Exercise. It's so important to just get out there and walk a little bit every day and get some sun, get some vitamin D. The sun will help you tremendously. Saunas, sweat, get those toxins out of you, because that's another one. Once you start killing this candida, it releases over 80 different types of toxins. And just like when anything dies, it releases gases, Picture a roadkill. You don't want to touch it, right? Okay, same thing with candida. It's dead inside you. You've got to get those toxins out of you. So sweating is a huge one. Water, okay? Not just any old water, not Pepsi's, Aquafina, whatever it's called. That's not good water. It's the plastic that you're drinking that out of. That has bad estrogen in it that is not good for you. Put your water in glass bottles. Bless it. Thank it. And I know this sounds like hocusy pocusy hippie stuff, but it works, man. Just look at the pictures of my face before and now. And it wasn't, I kept thinking, oh, this supplement is going to heal me. Oh, this sauna is going to heal me. No, it's everything. You've got to take everything into action. And also, baby steps. You can't do it all overnight, because it will be too overwhelming and you'll send your body into shock. So just remember that, if you're somebody that's eating a lot of sugar right now, switch over, get your sugar from honey or raw agave, raw honey and raw agave. Fruits, no processed sugar. It's the worst. Mm-hmm. It's poison.
So the pH of your food, of your body, the pH makes a big difference, doesn't it? Because it's
Huge.
kind of like cancer. It can't exist in an alkaline body. Is that correct?
That is very correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So
But see,
acidic, it thrives in an acidic environment,
yes.
which is sugar.
One thing that you got to remember with that as well is that every organ in your body has a different pH. It is extremely helpful to drink maybe just a teaspoon of baking soda, but make sure you're getting good baking soda without any aluminum mixed in there or anything like that. I prefer not to do Arm& and Hammer personally. I'd go to a health food store and buy my baking soda and just a teaspoon and about a pint of water and stir it up really well and chug it down and you're good. If you can do that twice a day, even better, but spread it out, one in the morning and one at night. Another thing that will help keep your pH is green algae, like spirulina and chlorella are huge helpers for that. And that moringa leaf that I showed you, that's another big one. Um, and yeah,
So yeah, you wouldn't have to go overboard and do all three of those. You could just pick one. And some
yeah,
days you may want to do the baking soda water. Like I do that sometimes before I drink coffee.
yes,
So
yeah, yeah,
it's kind of like
absolutely.
I know coffee is very acidic, so I drink the baking soda water to offset it. And
Yeah,
then the next day you could do take your spirulina tablets, or the next day, like
yes.
if you're traveling, you can take little spirulina pills with you, or if you're doing smoothies, you can use that. So it kind of shakes things up a little bit. So what kind
Yeah.
of support team did you have?
Oh gosh. At first, not much because I'm not at all saying that every doctor is bad or not going to help you. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying the doctors that I went to, I was not able to find any help with this. And that's when I reached out to Google. And there's a huge, huge help support team on Facebook that's called the Candida support page. And that was really, really helpful. But as far as my family and my loved ones goes, I mean, they're looking at me and I can't even walk. And the toxins mess with your psyche so terribly. You don't have to have a rash on your skin to show that you've got candida. If you're having trouble sleeping, if you're having issues with your mind and you can't calm down sometimes, or you are too calm, you can't have any energy, that kind of thing, more than likely you've got to flush some candida out of your body. And I was trying to convince my loved ones, I know what I'm doing. I can do this. This is my body. And they were scared out of their mind. And I don't blame them. I looked like I was going to die, which I very well could have if I didn't get it under control. So after, I don't know, maybe the first 6 months when I really started to look better and feel better and was actually able to show up for events, that kind of thing, that's when people started stepping up. And my mother, who was a nurse for 30 years, yeah, she was pretty proud. She was, oh, my daughter. My boyfriend was my rock. I mean, honestly, even when he was encouraging me to go back and find another doctor that could help me, he still said, whatever you choose to do, I will support you. And that's another thing that's so important because this stuff is stressful. It's important to have at least one person that will just be there for you. Whether or not they agree with what you're doing, they can just support you. And yeah, I had that. And the Candida support team on Facebook. Big
That's
help.
huge, yeah. I mean, I know that eventually you stumbled across information on N5D that kind of coincided with your spiritual side
Right.
of it as well, right?
Yes, Michelle, oh my gosh. I was listening to you. I cannot remember the lady's name that you were interviewing, but she was talking about how once she did clear out this candida from her body, she started having a lot more spiritual experiences. And I, I just about flipped my lid when I heard that because I thought I was the only one that was experiencing that, and to hear that. And that's when I reached out to you just going, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Please, please, can we talk? Because once I really started feeling healthy and getting myself back on track, things started happening. I mean, the whole pineal gland activation, meditation became incredibly, just a whole nother experience for me. My higher selves,
Yeah.
really just, they were my support team at that point. It was pretty empowering. And there's one thing I didn't mention, which I should, and that is that back in the beginning, when my face really started to blow up and I was out of control with it, I was at a huge, major stressful point in my life. Extremely stressful stuff going on in my life. And stress plays a huge part in Candida overgrowth.
Yes.
I was so sick. I was so sick, and a huge lump in my breast, and I just broke down. I was actually in the shower just bawling because I knew I was that sick. Just something was telling me, you are really sick, and if you don't do something about it, you're going to die. And in that breakdown, I cried, and I am not a religious person by any means. I've always been pretty spiritual, but this was a special moment, and I just didn't know who I was talking to, but I just said, if you show me what is wrong with me, if you tell me, help me, guide me along the way, I promise I will do everything that I have in me to heal this body. And look at me, I'm getting choked up because honestly, it was just, that's exactly what I did. I took it seriously. Whoever it was, they definitely showed me. They definitely let it show on my face that there was something wrong.
Yeah, be careful what you wish for
Right?
sometimes, but you
Right.
needed to know how serious it was and
Yeah.
that you play an integral role in, all of humanity awakening. Once one person makes this spiritual journey and this awakening process and understands how we're being poisoned in every way to keep us from opening our pineal gland and making contact with our higher self and source and all other humans, then society has done everything possible to keep us from doing that, and your message is very important in that respect.
Yeah. I mean, that was a really huge moment, and I felt it. It's not like I heard voices. I felt it. And I knew nothing about the pineal gland. I knew nothing. I mean, I had heard of the pineal gland because my mom ended up teaching nursing after she was a nurse, and I'd heard of, the terminology of body parts inside, but I didn't understand the spiritual aspect. And once I started clearing myself out, I felt that I felt and I heard in some way, shape, or form. I heard this, you're doing it, good job, and I was just, thank you so much. So yeah.
Well, some other symptoms I think of, I didn't really study Candida very much, but I do have a knowledge with my holistic, health lifestyle. But wouldn't that be like a white coating on your tongue?
Yeah, that's one way that it will show up for sure. Yeah, and I did have a little bit of that, but mostly it was just straight up on my face. And
Right.
it got to the point, because this was really all trial and error for me trying to figure out how to cure myself. So once I learned that I had Candida, I thought, well, I got to kill it. It's a fungus. It's a yeast that turns into a fungus if it gets out of hand. So I'm thinking, okay, I've got to kill this Candida. I've just got to kill this stuff. So I started buying herbs like Paul Darko tea is an extremely potent antifungal that kills the fungus, but does not remove the toxins. So those toxins floating around in turn made my body incredibly acidic. So then the Candida just flourished and my face got worse. And there were times when I saw what looked like white wires coming out of my face right here. I mean, long white wires. And it was like, if I rubbed too hard, I could reach in and pull it out. Of course, that would make matters worse. I wouldn't want to do that. But it was it was scary, man. It was really
I,
scary.
I think I mentioned to you before that that sounded a lot like the Morgellons disease,
Hmm.
fibers coming out. And it
Yeah.
could be, it could be that you did have a mixture of not only the Candida, but you were also maybe something that came from chemtrails that you ingested, or something in the food, or something in
Yeah.
the water in your area, or
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a combination of so many
Right.
things, but the bottom
Exactly.
line is we're all being called to detox and, not only change our diet, but then we have to detox. Now, our liver, our kidneys, the organs that work really hard to keep us detoxed, they usually can do a really good job. Our body knows how to cleanse itself and how to keep us healthy. But if we keep poisoning it to a saturation point and then you throw the stress in on top of it, that's when things can get way out of balance and way out of control.
Yes. Yes.
Ultimately, I think it's all, I mean, everything's energy. So ultimately, it's all an energetic imbalance. However, when it comes down to a physical manifestation and you realize you have a physical vehicle that's causing this because it's full of toxins, then you change the energetic imbalance through the holistic methods of changing your food and adding the various things. So it was a very important thing that you said about the antifungal, basically needing to kill the fungus, but that increased the number of toxins. And so you get back to like a normal detox routine,
Hmm.
which could include lots of fruits and vegetables, or even fasting for a certain period of time.
Hmm.
Sounds like
Hmm.
to me you had to do an extreme fasting because of the fear of all the foods, in
Yeah.
our reality. I mean, it's even organic foods are called organic by the FDA.
Yeah. Right.
What
Right.
I do
Right.
want to talk a little bit about that fear real quick, though. Most people, if they're not put in a stressful situation, are going to be able to take supplements for detox, natural, like liver cleanse, colon cleanse, um, you know, uh, intestinal cleanse and things like that, coffee cleanse. Those are all good, and it's good to be able to do that, maybe focus on a different organ or a different cleanse every month to kind of space it out and not overstress your body, not overstress yourself, not eat the things that you like as long as it doesn't have a lot of starches or sugars, everything in moderation. And that will bring your body into a balance, a good balance, and try to eat as organic as you can. But to overdo things too is also not good. Like, unless you have something like you had, which was obviously basically taking over your life and threatening your life, then you've got to do drastic measures. But for most people, they feel really bad about not being able to eat organically,
Yeah.
not being able to afford it, or whatever. And I just want to put the word out there that you're not gonna you probably may not have this extreme thing happen to you like Erin did,
True. Yeah.
but
Good point.
she's telling her story for those who may have candida and it didn't manifest physically, but they're feeling spiritually blocked, or they're basically feeling tired, weak, confused, fogginess. This definitely, are the signs that you've got something that you need to detox.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Absolutely. And I get so worked up and so excited about sharing this news because it has changed my life so much. And yes, I did have to make some incredibly drastic changes. Um, and yes, the food is more expensive. Raw, organic, local honey is far more expensive than a box of, refined sugar. But prioritize, I guess, And another thing is farmers markets. If you've got a local farmers market, that's an awesome place to go get inexpensive, organic, healthy produce. So, yeah, that's just
I
something I
was
want to
reading
comment.
today, synchronistically, that there are some fruits and vegetables that you couldn't get away with not doing organic because they don't spray pesticides, or if they spray
Right.
pesticides on the outside, you really don't get it. That would be like
Avocados.
avocado, pineapple, um, eggplant. Asparagus doesn't usually have very many pests, so they usually don't spray that much on there. What are some other ones? Mangoes. I heard mangoes were we're pretty, pretty safe. So, I think the most susceptible to having pesticides are apples and tomatoes, yeah, things that grow,
grapes.
yeah, because the bugs really like them, and so they really have to spray them hard. I think oranges are kind of okay. Watermelon and cantaloupe. I was really happy to read that because it's really hard to find organically grown watermelon and cantaloupe. Even our farmers market here in Sarasota, they bring local produce in, but the hang up is that since the FDA controls the word organic, if you're not getting it looked at by the FDA, you can't say it's organic.
Right.
So so don't be too scared to buy produce at your local farmer's market as long as it didn't come from the big distribution center that brings it over from another country or whatever. But then also keep those other things in mind, those things with a hard rind on them, thicker rinds. You just do the best you can.
Yes, exactly.
What we're trying to do is avoid a blow up like this, and that starts with reduction or elimination of alcohol. Yeah. And all the refined sugars. Oh my gosh, the amount of sugar that they put in kids' cereals.
Oh gosh.
It blows my mind. The amount of sugar in Coke. I mean, you can get $1 large, extra large dollar drink at McDonald's.
Right.
This big for a dollar.
Yeah.
I mean, these things, and you wonder why people walk around with this gut, this big, huge gut in the. I mean, like that looks like a baby or a baseball. Those kind of guts. I'm not talking about the kind of gut I have, because I don't eat sugar. Well, I do want to say one thing. I'm a very honest person. I don't drink sodas. I don't eat sugar, but every now and then I have a sweet tooth for something, and it could be a piece of cheesecake. Or the other night we treated ourselves out to dinner, and we had a piece of the most delicious. We split a piece of the most delicious orange cake we've ever had, and I've noticed that when I do that, I could get like one piece of cake. I could get a pimple right here, mostly around this part of the mouth. Or I could get a breakout of just a little allergic reaction, red itchy bumps, and just a few, like maybe 10 on various places, and that's just basically the body saying screw you, get this out, so you have to scratch it so it comes out. It could be very well that. Another real quick, and I'll let you go wherever you want to with this, is I have always loved bread. Warm bread, I did a video on it. Bread has been a staple of my life, and potatoes ground me. They keep me here, when I really want to be up there, and sometimes I need to be here. But I've recently cut down or cut out. For a month ago, I started a diet where I cut bread, wheat, all that completely out of my body. I did read a book called The Wheat Belly Diet. And it talks about the GMO, the genetically modified wheat, where you can hardly get any real wheat from our, the Indian times, where they grew wheat as a staple. You have to think about that, by the way, as part of the overall plan to control us. The Indians say they received wheat from extraterrestrials, from the sky as a gift from the gods. Well, was that all planted as part of... We'll make wheat a staple. We'll keep them from traveling around and killing their bison, and they're getting their meat that way. And now they can stay in one place and grow wheat and then corn. Now, wheat and corn are two of the most deadliest genetically modified foods that we have. Wheat, when it interacts with my body, it causes fat cells to wrap around the toxins. The toxic substance to protect my body, and that's what is happening to most Americans, and that's why you see the majority of Americans are overweight on this planet. So I definitely am trying the hardest I can. On the other hand, I do want to say, as a balance, I have cut it out, but if I want to eat a sandwich one time a week, I will do that. I'm not, basically making myself miserable by not being able to enjoy being an earth human. because I may not
Yeah.
ever do this again. So that's what I have to say about wheat and corn and GMO and organic and all that. I'll let you roll with the rest of that.
Well, yeah, it's it's a personal choice, absolutely. And it's one of those things where if you want a sandwich, you want a freaking sandwich, man. Eat a sandwich, you know? Um, and I do have sandwiches. I actually developed a taste for pumpernickel bread, which
Mm.
does have a little bit of yeast in it, but it has no wheat and no gluten. Um, and again, I had to take things to an extreme measure, and
And now you're
my
probably very afraid of eating anything that has,
It's really strange. For a little while, I was afraid, um, but I perceive it so differently now. Now I'm at this level where I feel so good. I feel so good when I wake up in the morning. I mean, of course, I have my bad days. Everybody does, but overall, I just feel so much better. I mean, I was an alcoholic when I was younger. I'm 38 now, and I've had one of those roller coaster lives. I was a bartender. I drank too much. I had my experiences with drugs and whatnot. I've been high on many different substances, but nothing compares to the high of having a healthy gut and having this organically high feeling, Um, but again, and here's another thing. I do eat sweets. I do eat sweets, but I eat raw chocolate honey sweets
hmm
because I don't really have a bread craving, but I do get sweet cravings. And so those things are okay. I'm not really sure where I was going with this, but
well,
it
raw cacao. I just bought some raw cacao nibs and they taste like shit, to be honest with
what?
you. But I do have a recipe to mix them in to a coconut milk smoothie with
Yeah.
some honey, and I'm gonna try that as a like a kind of like a and with some ice, kind of like a milkshake. So I'm trying, but there's nothing. I mean, I don't have a craving for chocolate, but there's nothing better than a small piece of Hershey's chocolate every now and then. I mean, when I really need some kind of, what it does is it's just a crutch because it gets those endorphins, those feel good endorphins in your brain working. It's the same endorphins that you feel when you're in love.
Oh, totally.
And
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
that's why it's so addictive, and it's such a brilliant plan to keep us under control and sick. It really is. It really is. But we're learning how we're exiting the matrix through moderation and
Yeah.
information.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've got to you've got to get to know your body and trust your body. And I know that you have. I listen to your show. I can trust that you know when your body wants something and you know how to take care of that. And the raw cacao, it is very bitter. What's very
Yeah.
interesting though is that it grows on you and that in itself
That's what I
contradicts.
said last night.
But
I said, I bet this stuff grows on you, but
oh yeah,
tonight it's not.
it took me a little while, but it's I think the number one antioxidant on the planet. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But it mixed in with other things,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
There's raw cacao chocolate bars that you can buy from a health food store, and they are more expensive. I don't know. I shouldn't even go into all that. Um, I think it's important to everybody take their own diet into stride. I've become a vegan, but very carefully. And I'm not even going to say I'm a strict vegan because I just got off of dairy and I still will have some grass-fed butter.
Mm.
Um,
Oh,
and
one of my
yeah,
one
oh
of my
yeah.
favorites behind bread and potatoes is grass-fed
Good
butter.
butter. Yeah, totally. Um, Yogurt was a tough one for me to get off of, but see my probiotics
Yeah,
through
because
kombucha and everything.
exactly. Well, what is your? I mean, do you crave that any? Do you have cravings for that since you've been
Mm,
off of it?
no,
Okay.
no. But I've been really meticulous about how I'm going about it. I mean, protein is such an important. I don't think we need as much protein as the media says that we do, but a perfect way for me to get I guess this isn't vegan, but I eat bee pollen every day, which is an excellent source of protein. Excellent. It's a complete protein. Um, and I'm not doing this for any other reason, just other than my own health. I mean, life feeds on life. I'm not saying people shouldn't eat animals because, in my opinion, life feeds on life. That's just part of the game here. But um, I don't digest the meat very well. I feel like it sits in my stomach for a
Oh
week.
no, Erin, you just ate a good old cheeseburger.
Honestly,
Not really.
I
Not really.
eat all this stuff, and I definitely enjoyed it. But I'm just at a point in my life where every step I make, as long as I'm doing it mindfully
Yeah.
and I'm really careful and checking my resources. If I read an article that says, here, this will make you healthier, I check the resources and I double check it. One of my favorite resources is David Wolf.
Hmm.
I kind of just go back to his protocol and check in with his stuff to make sure I'm doing things right. But regardless, every step that I make towards getting healthier, I mean, I still worry about the candida sometimes, but more than anything, it's just one step of getting healthier and one step of raising my vibration.
Did you hear about Candida before it manifested on your face? Okay.
Never even heard the word before.
Okay.
Never even heard the word before. I found it just Googling rash on face. And actually what I did was I did a rash on face and then did a Google image search and tried to find something that looked the most similar to my rash. I found something called perioral dermatitis, which actually just means rash on the face, which is actually just a symptom. Um, and then just followed the steps, and finally I got narrowed down to something called Candida. And then that's what I went to another doctor and brought it up. I don't even want to go into that because the doctor kind of disagreed with me. But I know I was right
Hmm.
because all the steps that I took to rid myself of this candida worked. And anything
Well,
that prescribed me wasn't working.
in any spiritual journey like we're having now, where we're raising our consciousness and we're connecting with other aspects of ourselves that have information, it involves the discernment part and learning to trust yourself and learning to trust that when you feel like you know something, you do. And so you went through a huge experimentation learning phase of learning how to trust yourself as well. And I
Hmm.
think it was a horrible way to do it, but if you look at the
Yeah.
positive things of the outcomes of what happened, I mean, your skin looks absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
You look vibrant and happy and healthy and ready to serve by giving your information to other people as far as what worked for you, and then comparing it to what other people say. Then you can kind of hone it down to a package that says this will probably work for most people, and
Hmm.
that is cutting
Right.
down on all those things we talked about today.
Yeah. Yeah. And okay, if I was to narrow it down and say the two, and I've literally spent just at least a full year, at least 5 hours a day researching candida. Um, and I'd have to say, if I had to narrow it down to the two top things that will cause or make candida overgrowth worse is stress and sugar.
Yeah, I agree. I
Um,
agree.
and it's
And
just,
isn't that the same thing pretty much, for cancer, I would think.
yep. I
Yeah.
mean, honestly, in my own opinion, I think that candida is basically just one tiny little step behind cancer.
Yeah, I do too. I do too.
Um, and I was talking about the lump in my breast.
Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't want to just skirt right over that.
Yeah, no, it's, it's, it was the size of, I mean, two almonds, and now it's the size of a pea.
Awesome.
And I haven't done anything other than just, like I've been saying, doing this holistic health change.
Now,
Um,
did you have that biopsied?
no.
Okay.
I went, that was another thing I went to the doctor for. And okay, she told me, yes, obviously that's definitely a lump. That's a big one. We want to get you in for a mammogram right away. she scared me. I was like, okay, what I got to do? I got to fill out this paperwork and go get the mammogram. I was 37 at the time. I was really worried, scared as hell, really. My father has prostate cancer, and he's actually done really, really well with it. But I was scared, and I came home, and for some reason, that voice, that higher selves, telling me, "Don't go get the mammogram. You don't need it."
Yeah, you don't need any X-rays on top of everything else, radiation on
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. And I just didn't. And they called, man. They called like 5 times a day to make me get the appointment for the mammogram. And it got to the point where I was like, leave me alone. You know what I mean? Because I was already stressed out and scared from so many other things. And um, later, I just again thank my higher selves for guiding me in that. And again, I'm not trying to discourage anybody from going and following doctor's orders. If that's what you got to do, do it. Don't listen to me. Listen to yourself. And one more thing about listening to yourself. If you are using drugs or alcohol or any mind-altering substance, that takes listening to yourself in a different category. Because it's not,
Absolutely.
it's not yourself.
You.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a spirit. That's why they call alcohol spirits.
Spirits. Exactly.
It's another spirit that's joining you for a while for the party.
Yeah. And just on a personal note, I am a cannabis enthusiast. Okay. I use it for medical reasons and recreational purposes, but spiritual things happen to me when I do use cannabis. But if I'm stoned and I, hear a voice, so-called a voice in the back of my head, telling me to go do something or don't do something, I'm gonna wait till I'm clear-headed and in my own state of mind, my own consciousness, and rethink that before I go and make any drastic steps. But alcohol is definitely the biggest one.
Absolutely. And I think they've even added things to alcohol on top of just alcohol being what it is. But in that respect, I would like to say that I think the same is also true for cannabis. It's just like
yeah.
I don't think that you can find your backyard cannabis, your organic backyard grown cannabis anywhere on the planet anymore unless you saved seeds from 1970s.
Well, due to chemtrails and whatnot, that's probably true for any produce.
Yeah, okay, so seeds that have been in a seed vault that are grown indoors hydroponically.
Yeah.
That's the only way you're going to get, some when I was in high school, I smoked pot and I made straight A's. I smoked pot before I studied, and it opened my mind to the database, and it's like opening the top of my head, pouring what I needed to learn in there and closing it up. Next day I go to school, make straight A's. Mm-hmm. Except for Spanish. I always made B's and C's in Spanish. But but I really,
because you weren't smoking sativa.
But when it comes to the marijuana these days, now that the government has been involved in legalization and such, a lot of it is highly genetically modified. And anything that's take a plant, a natural, organic, earth-based plant, and you start genetically modifying it, it is still a toxin to your body. And it still does the same thing it's supposed to, but it's got that little extra weird thing going on. So just be careful of your pot these days.
Yeah. I'm fortunate enough to where I live, I have organic farmers that are dear friends of mine, and they keep it as organic as they can. Obviously, like I said, chemtrails and whatever is in the soil that they didn't put there is in the plant. However, it's as organic as it comes these days anyway. But yeah, you're right.
Fear around it. You just got to be aware. Now, how have you learned how to make cannabis oil yet? I guess
you mean like
the purpose
CBD oil?
For the purposes, like for instance, Charlotte's Web is a strain that I heard that when you create the oil for purposes of cancer treatment, it's highly effective.
Yeah, there's different strains that are good for so many different things, and
Do you do the oil, I guess is the question. Or do you just
No, no. I have made tea. I've extracted the properties, the THC,
yeah.
um, with coconut oil. I've actually just done it out in the sun. I'll put it in a mason jar, and I do this with the trimmings. I don't do this with the buds. I do this with the trimmings. Just same way you would make tea,
Mhm.
same amount about. Uh, and then I throw some coconut oil in, which pulls the properties out. Butter will do the same thing, but I personally prefer coconut oil. Uh, and I usually throw a couple like clear crystal pieces of quartz in there because it's an amplifier bringing the sun's energy in. And that's excellent. That is an excellent medicine right
Well,
there.
there you go, folks. You learn how to make marijuana tea on the
Yeah,
Cosmic Awakening show.
right. Yeah.
Since this is the Cosmic Awakening show, and I don't think your parents will be watching this anyway, especially since you're talking about cannabis, I do want to ask you, I can't help but ask you, in January, you were very excited with an experience that you had to share with me. I think everyone on this planet could really use some kind of reminder that they are being supported and watched by their cosmic family, and that we need to hang on and hang in there because we are here for making this shift, this energetic shift on the planet, which is going to cause a shift of consciousness, a shift in our vibrational resonance, and a shift in our reality. Tell us about the experience you had in January.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that up because I did text you. I just thought of you right away. I couldn't believe it. I was completely sober. I laid down in my bed. Actually, I had a really bad headache, and I was just trying to make it go away naturally without taking anything for it. So I laid down in my room. I turned off all the lights, every single light, shut the curtains, everything. My laptop computer was shut. My phone was next to me on airplane mode. And all of a sudden, it was snap, this light, this rectangular light.
Like a
Just,
flash bulb on an old time camera.
yes.
I've had that happen in my head before.
My sister's had it happen too. When I told her
And you
she
can
was,
hear it. It
yes, like a
sounds like it's
pop or
taking a
something.
picture.
Yes, yes, exactly. It was really, really intense. And I immediately thought it was, my laptop camera taking a random picture for whatever reason. But then I look and it's closed. And I mean, at first instance, I was scared as shit. What the hell was that? And my hands were shaking so bad. I tried to pick up my phone to text my boyfriend to tell him, because this all happened all at once. All these feelings of fear and shock, but excitement, so much excitement. And as soon as I started texting him, my hands were shaking so hard I could barely text anyway. It all started coming back to me. Just the strangest memories. And I'm talking memories, not like a dream, like memories. If you think about what you did yesterday, that's what it was like. And I remembered slowly but surely, it all started coming back to me. I was so high up, so high up. And that's the only way. I know it's going to be hard for this to make sense to anybody, but just high up in the sky or the universe or whatever, to the point where it was nothing but geometric shapes. And just started coming down and feeling my body come down. And as I'm coming down, I start to realize that I'm going through some sort of like a tunnel almost. And as I'm going down this tunnel, I start to see more, rather than geometric shapes, more humanoid looking beings. At first, they weren't necessarily human looking, just more like I could make out a being, an entity. I could make that out. And then as the lower I got, um, this is so hard to explain. It happened so quickly and slowly at the same time. And as I got lower, then the entities started becoming more and more human-like. And that's when I felt this connection, like they were my family. Getting goosebumps talking about it. They cared so much. It's going to be really hard for me to get through this without crying. They cared about me so much, and they cared about all of us so much. I have never felt love like that before. And my boyfriend and I are in love, man. We're majorly in love. I've never felt love like this. I'm not a mother, but I imagine this has got to be exactly what it's like when you give birth. Just so much care. And then I remember hugging one of them, and they were, this is cheesy, but they were dressed in what looked like Star Trek uniforms. Like I even remember a little symbol right here. Um, I don't remember what the symbol looked like, but I just remember something right there. And yeah, anyway, another thing is I remember knowing them. I remember at that moment, I knew who they were. I had seen them before. We had communicated plenty of times, like as if like I lived with them, and one of them was hugging me, and all the other ones around them, around that person, were saying, "Good job, Erin. You're doing a really good job. Keep it up. Keep it up." And then whoop, it just came like plop out of this, what almost looked like mechanical, almost looked like machinery around me, plop out of this tunnel, and then bam, that's when the light showed up in my room. And that's when I opened my eyes and was shaking, just going, and it was the craziest experience I've ever. I mean, I've done LSD before. This was so much crazier than that. It was so wild and so gratifying. And it, like you were saying, sometimes we just need a little reminder that we're being watched out for. We really are. And it's bringing me back to that moment. It felt so good. It felt so good. And it's just kind of one of those things where when I am having a real bad day and it just seems like, just I'm bummed about something, and it feels like, not this shift isn't even occurring, that kind of thing. When I'm having self-doubt and doubts about everything, I can go back to that and remember that this is happening.
Well, that's why I brought it up to you today and wanted to share it with everyone. And I now realize that when I'm either on my way to go to sleep or when I'm waking up and I have that flash bulb in with my eyes closed in my head, it's probably being put back into my body with that technology rather than when we drift off to sleep and we, automatically go off into the astral or whatever. And it probably happens more frequently than we know. It's just that maybe the experiencing the flash bulb was the only hint that we're allowed to have that we were put back in. Eventually I would run into you and find out what the heck it was. So that's awesome. And, people are talking about disclosure and first contact. And I really believe that this is disclosure. This is first contact. I mean, we don't know if the majority of the ships in our skies are literally, our family, or if they're government ships, the ones you can see with your night vision goggles at night. I found it really hard to believe that the government would, if they have the ability, the technology would allow just anybody to travel around Earth. I mean, and then I've heard about, a band that kind of, a quarantine band that kind of keeps whoever's here, and other beings out. But I know that they can travel. I know that advanced beings can travel interdimensionally, and those ships are here cloaked. And there's nothing the government can do about that because they don't have the tech. I mean, all they have to do is instantly go into another dimension, and they're gone, and they usually stay cloaked. So, it's very interesting times that we're in, and I really do feel like we are going to see something happen very soon. And I know that we have been probably led down, so many different paths and rabbit holes with things that, were supposed to happen this time and supposed to happen that time. But I have evidence in all of my shows and articles that when we have energetic wave shifts, people have contacted me and said, wow, that's what happened to me back in
Yeah.
September, October. My whole life changed. I had this big, huge shift of awareness and consciousness, and then I found your article. Thank you so much. We had the WaveX with Dr. Simon Atkins, and I had so much confirmation that people's lives changed, and then they went to find out, confirmation, what happened to me. And we're finding this information, and Greg and I are working on a project together where we're trying to get out information about some things that we think are synchronistic, and we see the bigger picture of many people who post articles and things. And it's like one little piece here, one little piece here, one little piece here, and I think I'm putting together a puzzle that's going to make people very excited about what we have coming up in our future. And I look forward to sharing that with you as well.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah.
Erin, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about? Your gift to humanity here, your information, and sharing your personal experiences. Thank you for being so open and honest about your life, because we are all spirits having a human experience, and eventually there will be no secrets. Everything is open. We have nothing to be ashamed about. I encourage everyone to share their experiences just as candidly as we do. Candidly, isn't that a great word? No, it's awful. What else do you have to share with us before we go?
Well, just some a few things, and that is that to me, it's so important that everybody take a minute to just breathe every day, and go inside your heart. And if that's hard for anybody to understand, just start telling yourself that I want to go inside my heart, and stop so much. I'm not saying entirely, but I'm seeing a lot of people reaching out for resources, for help, and looking up in the skies for spaceships. And, that's great and fun. And I've seen them. I've definitely seen them. But it's in here. And this is where the shift is going to happen. And once it occurs on a whole, collectively, that's when we're really going to start seeing it outside here, too. And that's just really something that I wanted to share, I think is really important. And then the other thing is that it was such a special experience for me. I'm so grateful for my ugly face a year ago. I'm so grateful for it, because, it was a big ouch, my ego, you know what I mean? I kind of felt like, what is this, a test to make me lose my ego, that kind of thing. But it brought me through such a huge learning experience. And now that I am just so much clearer and healthier and able to think, a lot clearer, the spirituality that came with that was just amazing. I mean, just absolutely amazing. And I strongly encourage everybody out there who listens to this to get yourself healthy. If you already are healthy, get yourself healthier. It's fun, And also, if it's okay, Michelle, I kind of just wanted to show a couple more products that have really, really helped me. And that is, as far as detoxing goes, I don't even know exactly how to pronounce this, but I think it's Gisandra berries. I don't know if you can see that. Because there's a lot of different things you can detox yourself with, but this one goes, sometimes, if you do milk thistle, it will clean out your liver, but it'll dump everything into your bowels, into your, your intestines, and then your toxins get stuck down there. This is going to bring it all, flush every part of you out.
Okay. That's good information, because, we can read all day on the internet, take milk thistle for this or that, but it doesn't say anything about the care, aftercare.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Then another huge detox product, I think I told you about this, Michelle. This is an activated ash. It's zeolite. And you do have to be careful with this. You have to make sure that you're extremely hydrated,
Okay.
not even just with water. I mean, of course, we need to drink plenty of water, but eating fruits and vegetables provide the hydration, that you're going to want to take with this. And this is, I'm pretty sure, the most potent detox product on the planet. I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
Yeah. And then this is my love right here. This is indole 3 carbinol. And I think the best way to describe it is it's like a cruciferous vegetable extract. I mentioned drinking out of plastic water bottles earlier. When water companies, and I don't work for a water company, I don't know this for sure. I'm going off of stuff that I've read and watched YouTube videos on, but I believe it because I feel the difference. I think they're supposed to wait like 6 months or something before they fill the water into the plastic water bottle, but no water bottle companies are doing that. Even the ones that don't put fluoride in their water, they're still filling the plastic water bottle too quickly. And so when you go to drink that water, it's got toxic chemicals from that plastic water bottle, which are going and filling in, it's giving you bad estrogen in short term. It's filling up your body with this bad estrogen, toxic chemicals. And after years and years and years of doing that, this indole 3 carbinol has helped me tremendously. This goes in and gets all that crap out of you, and fills in those spots. It connects with the correct places. And I mean, if you research this, there's a lot of evidence to show that it's women with breast cancer. It's helping clear that out. So yeah, that's another big one.
Beautiful. And of course, when we make the shift in reality, we won't have to deal with these toxic chemicals and stuff. This is just survival now, just to get us, to where our whole reality is going to change. And everything is, it's like everything is poisonous now, moving to, everything is good for us. So
yeah, absolutely. And you don't have to do any of this. I mean, eventually we're all going to get there.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like this, if you picture a mountaintop and here is enlightenment and we're all climbing up there with our ropes. Some people it's going to take a little longer. Some people might take the long route, climb up backwards, who knows. But we're all going to eventually get there. You don't have to do any of this. I'm just providing the information that has helped me.
Oh, it's very
so
valuable.
Much.
Very, very valuable, yes.
Yeah. And just to...
I just started thinking, though, when you were saying, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many supplements. I have a box full of supplements, like so many things to remember. And I just wanted to give everybody, just a little note that, just do the best you can. Do whatever feels good to you, right to you. You might need to do some kind of clay stuff for a while. You might need to do this for a while. You might need to do this for a while. And then you might need to do nothing for like a week. Sometimes I go 2 or 3 weeks without doing anything at all. Yep. And then I'm like, oh yeah. Then something drops into my brain that says, hey, start taking that melatonin again. Oh, okay. That's how it works.
Yep,
so,
exactly.
Listen, I've got to wrap things up here. I've got a dog to let out. But is there anything else you wanted to show me?
No.
But I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
but I
that's
really
okay.
have to let the dog out.
I could go on for days, and no, it's a good thing that you stopped me.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I appreciate you so much, Michelle, and I appreciate your show and everything that you're doing. The information you're providing is absolutely wonderful.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Erin.